Hello everyone and welcome to my latest installment in my deep dive into the 2024 Senate election series. Today's video focuses on a very competitive Senate race in the state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin is of course one of the closest races at the presidential level in the 2024 presidential election, and it seems it's going to be very similar in the 2024 Senate elections as well. In this video, I'll be breaking down some recent election results in Wisconsin for Senate races, the two candidates who are running, some polling data, and more. First, looking at the voting history for the state of Wisconsin, in 2022, Republican incumbent Senator Ron Johnson won re-election by a 1% margin of victory, very close race. In 2018, the Democratic incumbent Tammy Baldwin, who was up in 2024, won re-election by 10.8% margin of victory. That would be in between a likely and a safe. That would be a likely characterization. And in 2016, Ron Johnson again won re-election. This was for his second term by a margin of victory of 3.4%. Currently in the polling average, so I took the average of all the polling averages and averaged them up. Tammy Baldwin currently has 48.2%. Eric Hovde currently has 46.7%. Hovde is the Republican candidate. Looking at the national Senate vote and the margin of victory in these elections, in 2022, the national Republican Senate vote was Republican plus 0.1%, so as close as a tie nationally as you could really get. In 2018, it was Democrat plus 19.9% across the country, and in 2016, it was Democrat plus 10.8% across the country, which is an average of 10.2% across the country. As for how 2024 will vote, obviously we won't know until Election Day, but it is worth noting the generic congressional vote poll average from Real Clear Politics does have Republicans favored by 0.8%. But seeing as that's just congressional, that doesn't exactly tie in with the Senate map, we're really not going to know how this goes until Election Day. Wisconsin and how it voted compared to the nation in 2022, when Ron Johnson won re-election, Wisconsin voted 0.9% more Republican than the nation as a whole. In 2018, Wisconsin voted 9.1% more Republican than the nation as a whole, even though Tammy Baldwin won re-election in this election. And in 2016, Wisconsin voted 14.2% more Republican than the nation as a whole. That is an average difference between 2016 and 2022 of Republican plus 8.1, and between 2018 and 2022 of Republican plus 5. However, again, it does need to be noted that the 2024 Senate map is the same one as the 2018 one, where it was a Democrat plus 19.9% win in 2018. What it's going to be in 2024 still remains to be seen, but it is likely, given it was so lopsided in 2018, it is expected it probably will be more Democratic total votes nationally. Given the Senate map, the question will be by how much, and how does Wisconsin play into that? Looking at the two candidates for 2024, the Democratic candidate is incumbent Senator Tammy Baldwin. She is now running for her third term in the U.S. Senate. And the Republican challenger is Eric Hovde. He is running to unseat Tammy Baldwin and win this Wisconsin Senate seat. Looking at the Senate forecast for the state of Wisconsin in its 2024 race, Real Clear Politics has this race listed as toss-up. Sabado's Crystal Ball, 538, and Decision Desk HQ, The Hill, all have this race as lean for Senator Baldwin, and Cook Political Report has it listed as a toss-up. So those are the five forecasting sites that I've been using in most of my deep dives. Looking at the polling averages right now, Real Clear Politics has Baldwin leading by 1 point. 538 has Baldwin leading by 3 points. 270 to win has Baldwin leading by just 0.6%. Decision Desk HQ, The Hill, has Baldwin up by 1.1%. That is an average across these polling averages of 1.5%. And when I mentioned the polling average at the start of the video, the Democratic numbers on this average of averages is Baldwin at 48.2 and Hovde at 46.7. Now looking at some key counties in Wisconsin I'm watching for the 2024 election. The first county I'm watching for is Milwaukee County. This is obviously where the city of Milwaukee is. This is the largest county in Wisconsin. Very big Democratic vote area. In 2022, in the Senate race, the Democratic candidate margin of victory in this area, the total votes in this area was 348,000. 348,000 votes came just out of this one area. So very big county, and there will be a lot of votes, likely again, in 2024. As for how it voted in 2022, it was a 40-point win for the Democratic candidate. In 2018, it was a 43% win for the Democratic candidate, and in 2016 it was almost a 30% win for the Democratic candidate. And remind you just that in 2022 it was a very narrow Republican win statewide. 2018 it was a Democratic win by about 11 points, and in 2016 it was a Republican win by about 4 points. So that gives you a little bit of perspective in that the Democrat won Milwaukee by 40.2% and still lost the state, but in a very, very close election. Whereas in 2016, the Democrat won Milwaukee by almost 30%, but still lost the state by about 4 percentage points. So the margins in a county with a lot of people like Milwaukee does make a very important difference. Now we have Dane County. This is where the city of Madison is. This is the second largest county in the state of Wisconsin. It had over 300,000 votes in the 2022 Wisconsin Senate race, so a lot of people here as well. In 2022, the Democratic candidate got 54.4%. In 2018, the Democratic candidate got 55.4%. And in 2016, the Democratic candidate got 45.5%. So again, in 2022, 54.4%, still the Democrat lost statewide. 2018, the Democrat won statewide, 55.4%, outperforming by about 1 point. 2016, the Democrat lost by 45.5%. Just want to mention that. I'm not going to do that every time and mention whether the candidate won or not, but I just wanted to put that out there because I feel that's important information. The third largest county in the state of Wisconsin is the county of Waukesha County. This is one of the mostly highly watched areas, especially for Republican votes and Republican percentage in this county. This is the third largest county in the state. It had over 224,000 votes in 2022 in that Senate race, and it was won by the Republican in 2022, Ron Johnson, by 23.3%. 2018, it was won by 23.6% for the Republican, and in 2016, it was won by 37.7%. The margins of Waukesha County, I fully expect this to be a Republican county, but the margins in which the Republican candidate, Eric Hovde, wins this county is going to be very, very important to watch in the Senate race in 2024. If Hovde is running worse than the 2018 and 2022 numbers in Waukesha County as the Republican, that's going to show that he's probably in trouble and will not be winning this race. If he's getting numbers similar to Ron Johnson's in 2016, where he's getting close to 30% or better, that's a sign that he's way outperforming expectations and could potentially be winning the Senate seat. So Waukesha County is a very big area to watch for to give us an idea at how Eric Hovde is running. Similar to how Milwaukee and Dane are two areas that will give us a clue at how Tammy Baldwin is running statewide. The fourth largest county in the state is Brown County. This is where the city of Green Bay is, and this had over 113,000 votes in 2022 in that Senate race. This one is more of a expected to be Republican county, but more of a competitive one, where it was a 9.5% win in 2022 for the Republican. 2018, Tammy Baldwin actually won this county by 3%, and in 2016, Ron Johnson won it by 16.3%. So it's more expected to be a likely to safe Republican county, but it has shown that when Tammy Baldwin is on the ballot, it is capable of going Democratic. So Brown County is certainly one to watch for, that if this is competitive, if this is like a 2 or 3% win for the Republican, that means Tammy Baldwin is likely outperforming the 2022 Democratic candidate and 2016 Democratic candidate, and that would be very good news for her chances of winning. If Hovde is outperforming the 9.5%, he's outperforming Johnson from 2022, and that could be good news for him. So again, the margins are very important to watch in Brown County. Next, we have Racine County. Racine County is one of the first really competitive counties we're going to watch for. Similarly to Brown County, this one is right near the city of Kenosha in Kenosha County. This is the fourth largest county in the state with over 81,000 votes cast in 2022. And this is another important one to watch for, where it was won by Johnson in 2016 and 2022, but it was won by Tammy Baldwin in 2018. Another competitive one to keep an eye out for. 8.6 for Johnson in 2016, 4.8 for Baldwin in 2018, and 8.5 for Johnson in 2022. A very important one to watch for as well. Could give us an idea at how close this race is. Outagamie County, this is now the sixth largest county in the state. It was a 17% win in 2016 for Johnson, a 0.4% win for Baldwin in 2018, and then 11.5% win for Johnson in 2022. We're watching the margins in this area very, very closely. This is supposed to be a likely to safe Republican county. Depending on the margins, that could be a big difference as well in terms of how Hovde is doing statewide. Winnebago County, very similar. This is expected to be a likely Republican county, but it has been very close in the last two elections, where it was Republican plus 6.4 in 2018 and Republican plus 6.1 in 2022. Anything less than that would probably be a bad sign for Hovde and that this county is getting very, very close. If it's higher than those numbers, that would be good news for him, so we have to keep an eye out there as well to see how it goes. Kenosha, this is one of the more toss-up counties we're going to see on election night, as well as a few other counties as well surrounding the Madison area. Apologies for that delay. I just noticed I meant to make Kenosha in 2018 a Democrat plus 13, not Republican plus 13. So I just fixed that real quick. Kenosha was 2.5% won by the Republican in 2016, Democrat plus 13.6 in 2018, and then Republican plus 4.6 in 2022. This is a close one to watch for because this county, based on 2018's numbers, is capable of going either Republican or Democrat. And if this area is going Democrat, that is obviously very bad news for Eric Hovde, as he's running about 4 or 5 points below what Johnson ran in 2022, where he won very narrowly statewide. So Kenosha is certainly a toss-up area to watch for. It should be a Republican county under 5%, but if it's not, that would be very good news for Tammy Baldwin. Rock County, this is supposed to be a Democratic safe area, sometimes likely area, depending on the election. It was a 15.8% win in 2016 for the Democrat. It was a 25% win for the Democrat for Tammy Baldwin in 2018. And then it was an 11.2% win in 2022 for the Democrat. This is an area I'm watching closely to see what the margins of victory are, because if it's over 15%, that means Tammy Baldwin is likely doing better than expected as well in the state. If it's under 15%, then that could potentially be a sign maybe Eric Hovde is making up ground in an area like this. And if it drops below 11.2 from 2022, that'd be a very good sign for Hovde. Lastly, Marathon County was a 15.6% Republican win in 2016, a 5.8% Republican win in 2018, and then a 22% Republican win in 2022. Hovde, to win this race, is likely going to need to get around 22%, maybe even exceed that, as some of the areas will probably be more blue, like Milwaukee, like Dane, than they were in 2022. So Marathon should be a Republican win. The question is how big of a win that is. So these are just 10 counties I chose. A lot of them are very large population counties around the state of Wisconsin. There are other smaller counties as well that will be more competitive than some of these counties, but do not have as much people. So I'll just mention them briefly. Like some of the surrounding counties around Dane County, Columbia, Sauk, Iowa, Greene. Like these are counties that are not as large as Dane or Rock County, but they will be very competitive. So that could be something to watch for as well. But looking at the 2022 statewide map of Ron Johnson versus Mandela Barnes, the Democratic candidate, Johnson got 50.4%, Barnes got 49.4%, and what was one of the closest Senate races in the 2022 midterm elections. Marathon County, Marathon was 61% to Barnes's 38.9%. Dane County, Madison, 77.1 to 22.7. This was a win for Mandela Barnes. Dane right here, Marathon right here. Rock County, suburb of Madison, 55.5 to 44.3. That was a win for Barnes. Waukesha County right here, 62.6 to 37.2. That was a win for Johnson. Kenosha County right down here, the most southeastern county in the state of Wisconsin, 52.2 for Johnson, 47.6 for Barnes. Racine County right above Kenosha, 54.1 to 45.6. That was a win for Johnson. This number 5 right here, this is where Milwaukee is on the map. Milwaukee's right here. 70 to 29.8, a win for Barnes. Winnebago County right here. Winnebago, 52.9 to 46.8. That is a win for Ron Johnson. Outagamie County right north of Winnebago. 55.8 to 44.2, a win for Johnson. And lastly, Brown County, again where the city of Green Bay is, 54.6 to 45.2, a win for Johnson. So that was 2022, where it was a very close race, 1-point race, margin of victory. I think if Eric Hovde does win in 2024, that is a if, not that is not for sure. That is a if he wins hypothetically. I think we're going to see a map probably similar to this, maybe even closer. I don't think there's really going to be a much of a chance for a Republican like +3, +4% win on election night like there was in 2016. I think this race is far too competitive for that on the Republican side, but I think 2022 could be a good example of a map that if it does go red, this is how it might potentially do so. Looking at 2018, the last time Tammy Baldwin was on the ballot, she got 55.4% of the statewide vote against Republican Leah Vuckmeyer. Tammy Baldwin got 55.4% of the vote. Leah Vuckmeyer, the Republican, got 44.5%. This was definitely an 11-point Democratic win, supposed to be at a time of potentially competitive race, but turned more into a Democrat likely race and likely win that The swing state of Wisconsin really doesn't look like too much at the presidential level. This is like an Obama era type of Wisconsin win in 2018. I don't think we're going to see this in 2024, but this is kind of what a Democratic winning the state to the extreme would really look like. So, for example, in Marathon County, this is supposed to be a Republican stronghold in 2024. It was 52.9 for Vuckmeyer, 47.1 for Baldwin. So that was a really small margin of victory compared to what 2022 ended up being. In Dane County, where Madison is, 77.7 for Baldwin, 22.3 for Vuckmeyer. Very, very big win for Baldwin there. Rock County, right below it, 62.7, 37.3, a win for Baldwin. Waukesha County, the margins were pretty similar, 61.8 to 38.2, a win for Leah Vuckmeyer. Kenosha County, it did go blue this time in 2018, 56.8% to 43.2%. That was a win for Tammy Baldwin. Racine County also went blue, 52.4 to 47.6, a win for Baldwin. Milwaukee County, 71.5 to 28.5, a win for Baldwin. Winnebago County right here, 53.2 to 46.8, that was a win for Baldwin. Outagamie County, a very, very close win, but a win as well, 50.2 to 49.8, very, very tight, but a win for Baldwin. And Brown County, Green Bay, 51.5 to 48.5, a 3% win there for Tammy Baldwin. I'm not anticipating this map happening on 2024. I think the race is really too close for that. But some of these areas that were really, really blue, like Brown County, Outagamie County, Racine County, Kenosha, while I don't think they're going to go blue on election night 2024, at least 2018 showed that it is possible how high Tammy Baldwin could perform if she does get a lot of votes like she did in 2018. I don't think 2024 will be that close to this, but still something interesting to keep in mind. Now looking at 2016, where this is more of like the Republican sort of high end on what a Republican can do. Ron Johnson won this race against former Democratic Senator Russ Feingold, 50.2% to 46.8%. So what's interesting is there was actually more Republican support for Ron Johnson in 2022 than there was in 2016, but there was less Democratic support in 2016 and more third-party vote. I believe there was a Libertarian candidate getting about 2 to 3% of the vote. And for Ron Johnson in 2016 in Marathon County, it was 56 to 40.4, a win for Johnson. Dane County, Madison, this was 71.8 to 26.3. That was a win for Feingold. Rock County, 56.3 to 40.5. That was a win for Feingold. Waukesha, 67.9, 30.2, a win for Johnson. Kenosha, 49.5 to 47. Very tight, very competitive, a win for Johnson. Racine, 53 to 44.4, a win for Johnson. Milwaukee, 63.7, 34.1, a win for Feingold. Winnebago, 54.3 to 41.8, a win for Johnson. Outagamie, 56.8 to 39.5, a win for Johnson. And lastly, Brown Green Bay, 56.3 to 40, a win for Ron Johnson. I think Eric Hovde's really best case scenario would probably be a map similar to this one, but again, I'm not really expecting a 4-point win on the Republican side in this election. I think it's too close for that to occur. Looking now at the parties and how they performed across the last 3 elections, in 2022, the Democratic candidate Mandela Barnes got 49.4%. In 2018, the Democratic candidate Senator Tammy Baldwin got 55.4%. And in 2016, former Democratic Senator Russ Feingold got 46.8%. When you average those up, that would be 50.5% across the last 3 elections for the Democratic candidate. And when you look at the estimated range for 2024, of the highest total, 2018's 55.4, minus the lowest total, 46.8, that gets a difference of 8.6. Adding 8.6 to the high end and subtracting 8.6 to the low end, that gets a 2024 estimated range of 38.2 to 64. So what that means is really that the Democrat essentially is capable of winning this election and losing this election, both by wide margins, essentially showing it is a very close and winnable race, as the Republicans, which I'm about to go over, will find very similar findings. The only thing I wanted to note before moving on is it is very important to mention across the last 3 elections, the best performing Democrat in Wisconsin has been Tammy Baldwin, who is on the ballot again in 2024 in this video. That has to be noted as she has been the best performing Democrat of the last 3. Looking on the Republican side, in 2022, Ron Johnson got 50.4%. In 2018, Leah Vuckmeyer got 44.5%. And in 2016, Ron Johnson got 50.2%. That is an average across the 3 elections of 48.4%. And once again, conducting a range of the high end 50.4 minus the low end 44.5. That got a difference of 5.9%. That is when you take out the 2024 estimated range, 38.6 on the low end, 56.3 on the high end. So the ranges on the low end are almost very, very similar. Republicans only have a 0.4% higher floor based on the last 3 elections than the Democrats do. But the Democrats also have about an 8-point higher ceiling in Wisconsin on the 2024 estimated range compared to the Republicans do. Both of them, though, start out low, finish high, both very capable of breaking 50%, which does show a very, very close and competitive race. As for how this one is going, it's very, very interesting because Wisconsin's a very tough state to gauge at the Senate level. Tammy Baldwin, like 2 years ago, was not seen as one of the more vulnerable Democratic senators of the Democratic senators that were up for 2024. Sure, Wisconsin's a very competitive state at the presidential level, but she did win her race by such a large margin in 2018. It was kind of like not too much expected to be one of the top Senate races compared to some of the other ones like Montana, West Virginia, and Ohio, where they were already Trump states. Wisconsin in 2020 did vote closely for Joe Biden. But it has clearly become a very, very competitive and tight Senate race in Wisconsin. Eric Hovde has been running as one of the best Republican candidates in all of the competitive states across the country and the polling numbers for the last 2 or 3 months now. I did a video, I believe it was 2 months ago now, looking at some of the Republican challengers compared to Donald Trump's poll numbers. And at the time, Eric Hovde was one of the best polling Republican challengers compared to Donald Trump's numbers than many of the other ones. And I believe that would still be the case. So this is a very, very close race. I think in terms of candidate quality, you have 2 very strong candidates going at it, which makes for a very competitive race. And for my prediction for the state of Wisconsin in the 2024 Senate race, I do have Democratic incumbent Tammy Baldwin narrowly holding on to win this race with 49.7%. Eric Hovde gets 48.3%. That is a margin of victory of 1.4%. And this one is really tough, but I think Tammy Baldwin having the incumbency advantage and having the better performance in 2018 among all the Democrats, I think would be enough just to barely give her an edge. But it also is worth noting, I believe, Tammy Baldwin is outperforming Kamala Harris in the polls in the state of Wisconsin, where Donald Trump is leading, last time I checked, by about half a percentage point at the presidential level. Tammy Baldwin is leading by at least 1% in every single polling average I've seen, except for 270 to win. So I think Tammy Baldwin is still slightly favored to win this seat, to win the state of Wisconsin in its Senate race, but it is really, really close and really, really competitive. I think if Eric Hovde did win on election night, it wouldn't be surprising, but it would kind of be a little bit, I guess it would be a little bit surprising, but it wouldn't be like oh, I did not see this coming at all. Because Eric Hovde has run a very good campaign. He's made this a very close competitive race. I think it will be under a 2% margin of victory in this race. But Tammy Baldwin, I think right now, is slightly favored to hold on, but this has really become a very close one and an interesting one to watch. Looking now at the 2024 Senate map, as I've done several of the top competitive races, like in Florida, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, Montana, and now Wisconsin, I have the Democrats at 46 Senate seats, Republicans at 51, with 3 Senate seats left to go in my deep dive series. The next video will be on the state of Michigan, which has a very contested Senate race going on right now. That should be a very, very interesting video. Make sure to stay tuned for that one. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching my deep dive into the 2024 Wisconsin Senate election. Please stay tuned for the Michigan one. That will do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to give it a like. And if you really liked it, please remember to click the subscribe button and make sure you turn post notifications on so you always get notified when I post a new video. That way you never miss one. Also, please remember to share this video with your friends and family if you really, really, really like the video. And remember to stay tuned because I'll be posting at least one video every single day leading up until Election Day. So I'd really appreciate it if you keep coming back and watching those videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.